Excellent. All right. So who all here has made a career change before? All right. Who here is a boomerang? I know Paul is. There's a lot more of us than I noticed. Excellent. So you all are familiar with the anxiety and changes that happen with making career moves. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But overall, the idea is, let's see. Hang on. Oh, hey, there's me. Okay. How do you put it all together? And this is probably a 101 type presentation. I talked with Joe, and I was like, you're like expert level. But this is how we put together our launch and where we are now. So we turned 2 in March. All right. So Ryan is a leading provider of global tax services. We were founded in 1991, so we're fairly young in our career, and I guess our growth. I joined right out of college, and you can see me there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, tax consulting guru, nerd, whatever you want to call it. We were just getting started, and so it was a very entrepreneurial feeling there. I started as a tax consultant. I moved into recruiting. And then when we decided to start our family, we realized a consulting firm's kind of a hard place to have a family. So I had to ask those hard questions about your career. You know, should I step away from the workforce? Is it possible for me to do anything? Is it, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my work? What are my friends going to forgive me? Are my colleagues going to ignore me? So those are all questions that were really important to me as I thought about what was next. And so I spent some time away from the workforce. I stayed in touch with my friends and my mentors and got to go to, holiday parties and baby showers and that kind of thing. And when it was time for me to think about what was next, and this was several years, we joke that I have Ryan's longest parental leave, which is kind of fun. But I reached out to one of my mentors and said, hey, I'm thinking about my career and what's going to happen and where do I want to be? And that conversation was really positive, that we always have good talks. But at that moment, it wasn't really aligned with what Ryan was doing. And then a couple of weeks later, it actually was like, hey, Melinda, this is what we're going to do. And that's the power of an alumni network. Just having that shared understanding and that desire to say, wow, your new experiences can contribute to what we're doing. So it wasn't goodbye for good. I am going to share what we did along the way, and this is kind of organic. I liked the word that Charlie put on the flyer, so I'll use that. Because no one knew. No one knew what an alumni program would look like at Ryan. So I want you to think about what's available to you, your business, what's driving you, and then at the end, what do you want? All right, so what's available? That's kind of like the Princess Bride moment. Do you have a wheelbarrow and a Holocaust cloak? What are the unexpected things that you can use to help you get going? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I said that to one of my colleagues, and they were like, the Princess Bride? Hurtful. So I had an early conversation with our founder and CEO, Brent Ryan. So we're still founder-led, and I asked him what he wanted from an alumni network, and we had a really productive conversation, but one thing he said really stuck with me. He said, everything I learned and much of what I've had to unlearn came from public accounting, and that sharp elbows when people left a company were really unnecessary. Like, he really didn't like going into a meeting and seeing a Ryan alum and having to think, did we treat them right when they left? And so that's his primary reason to have an alumni network. He just wants to know that he's doing right by the people who've helped him grow the company to this point. So that's a huge asset. And I know a lot of people don't always have that, but when you do, celebrate it. And I'm going to take Joe's advice and figure out the succession plan for that, because I don't know what happens after that. Thinking about it from an HR or formal perspective, we looked and did a lot of research about the team member experience and what we had at Ryan. And this was a graphic that it was on the internet. I can't even tell you where I got it. I thought was really valuable because it's got that pop out on the corner for connecting the dots between exit and attraction. That's the alumni experience right there. And so that really stood out to me, and I thought, wow, this is where we can build on it. We took that experience and spread it out to create a more rich and more deep idea of what a team member experience can look like. And so this alumni experience map is something that we put together to sort of say, hey, this is what we have in place. This is where we want to go for future growth. And here are some current processes and things that we can improve on over time. So this kind of became a checklist for, hey, this is what we're going to be tackling. And then we could prioritize it for, easy wins and then long-term growth. So we talked a little bit about culture. We've got a charismatic leader who gets it. We've got some cool things that we do, big annual events and community outreach that we know we want our alumni involved in. The unexpected part is, I think, something I want to talk with you about here. We have a monthly call with our CEO. We call it Team Talk. And so there was a conversation between two other leaders about who should be involved in the Alumni Network. And so it's right there on public display within our company, 4,000 people logged in watching it. And Brent kind of just stopped and said, well, why aren't we inviting everybody to the Alumni Network? It doesn't have to be just alums. It doesn't have to be just retired partners. He was like, everybody should join, which was a little bit controversial. And you can imagine that in a professional services firm, that moment of time where you go, oh gosh, we really want our current team members networking with our competitors now? How is this gonna work? But it really casts the environment for building a bigger table. We want to be as inclusive as possible and grow the program and give everyone access. So that's pretty huge. Once we did that, though, we had to think about how we were going to invite our internal team members. So we worked with the Enterprise Alumni team on our Workday integration, and we actually send an invitation about 30 to 60 days after someone joins the firm to the Alumni Network based on our timing with Workday. That's huge. They get an automatic invitation that says, hey, you're always one of us. And then more internal invitation came from, an affinity program. We use it for our health and wellness. And so we can create an activity that generates points, and people hoard their points. And so we created a task that said, join the Ryan Alumni Network, get 500 points. And man, people loved that. And then we had another one that was have a coffee chat with one of your alumni friends. And that was another one that was pretty cool to see people go, wow, I really didn't think about this being important to us. Okay, so what's driving you? This is the business moment where we had a really hard time getting focused because people say things like, begin with the end in mind, or you've got to measure ROI, or you've got to have some sort of figure. And we didn't know what that was. We had encouragement from our CEO to say, we really want an alumni network. That's it. So, okay, great. It's inspiring to have freedom and terrifying at the same time. So I started at the very basic building blocks of what we do at Ryan. We align our work to our key results: people, client, and value. How we work together to deliver results for our clients and serve the value of the company. Pretty basic, right? But if you've been paying attention to the whole concept of an alumni network, it's very aligned with what you're trying to do. You've got the people part, you've got the business development part, and then you've got the overall brand and culture component that's important. So from there, okay, that's great, I've got that, but I still can't measure any of that. So I did some analysis and had to do some correction on how many alumni we actually have. And then that turned into how many of them returned as a rebound to the company. From there, I worked with our financial planning and analysis team and said, can we get a revenue number? Can we get any sort of indicator of the value that our alumni bring or our rebounds bring to the firm? And while this number is not perfect, we were only able to get to our leaders, our principals at the firm, who are alumni, or rebounds, and they're driving $31 million of revenue at that point in time, which was eye-opening. We knew that they were doing good things for us, but no one had ever measured it. And so these are some things that we're using to start just having a baseline of where we are. From there, we put it all together. We have a mission statement, and this is another guide, another thing that we keep front of mind as we're making our decisions. Okay, so now you've got the asset list. You've got some numbers you're measuring. you've got to think about, what do you want and what do you need? And so, like, I think about Kyle, who is just getting started rebuilding his program, but he's really heavily involved in client services. Like, we had a conversation in Denver, and he was very much of the mindset that, wow, we really want to figure out how to get to our alumni who are clients and potential clients, which is a totally different conversation than we have at Ryan, because we're really heavily invested in how do we bring people back when the timing is right. So you're going to have to decide that. I can't decide that for you. Enterprise Alumni can't decide that for you. So for us, what does that mean? Well, we've got our list. We've got that checklist from our experience map, and we have some ideas for what's next. We know we want to continue driving membership to the portal. We know that we want to have deeper and richer events segmented by categories, by age, by location, whatever it is we're looking at. We want to have an entrepreneurs organization type forum group. We've got a lot of alumni who have got the entrepreneurial spirit at Ryan, and they're taking that experience to start their own business, but they really value the internal knowledge and the quality of people that helped them shape their career. So they trust each other. And then we really want to build some better numeric metrics and just dashboards around our alumni content for our practice leaders. So we want to be able to say to them on a quarterly basis, hey, here are all of the alumni that have left your practice. Here are recent terminations that might be regrettable that we need to have someone follow up with someone, just to keep in touch with them and check in. And then here's your headcount planning. We know that you've got a need to hire 40 people in the next year. Do any of these people align with those positions? Should we reach out? Should we start those conversations earlier? So for you guys, that's going to, determine how you build and grow that part of your work. All right, lessons and feedback. We have developed an alumni advisory board, which is kind of cool. And I randomly sent an email to my group and said, hey, this is what we're doing for Alumni Impact Month. Here's this. And I gave a book recommendation. How many of you guys have read Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara? Anyone read that? It is a great book. While it's about the restaurant and hospitality experience, it's also about how you deliver work and value to your colleagues, which is super helpful. Anyway, I just kind of included it and said, wow, this is an interesting book. And my friend Randy here with the fish, he's a retired partner, he emailed back and was like, I love book recommendations. And just last week, he got back to me and said, Melinda, I loved the book. Did you read page 31? And I was like, well, I read the book. So I had to go look it up, and it'd been a little while. And I said, well, wow. And he said, Melinda, that is my Ryan experience. And so I'm going to read it here to you because the quote from the book is so important. In the book, Will had just moved from one small restaurant to a larger hospitality organization that was well known for processes. But his colleagues and his friends were like, oh, they're really kind of quirky. They're kind of like a cult. And he was enjoying his experience. And so he thought about it a little bit, and he shared this. He said, I began to realize that a cult is what people who work for companies that haven't invested enough in their cultures tend to call the companies that have. And so that experience is really what happens when you drive an alumni network in your organization. You're capturing those moments that matter to the people who know your environment, but to everyone else, they might think it's a little bit quirky. And so Randy went on to say, well, my headhunter said that Ryan was really weird and I shouldn't go there. And I did it anyway, and I loved every moment of it. So those are the kinds of things you're going to end up capturing as you do this, and those are the things that are going to keep pushing you forward. All right. Final thoughts. These are just Melinda's moments of advice for you guys. Find your allies. Know who's going to help you, who gets it, who supports you, and will cheer you on. For me, I've got people in our facilities and real estate services group. I've got people in operations. I've got all of these people who randomly are like, wow, this is really important to us. You can't talk too much about your alumni program. And I had this moment for a couple of months this year where I was like, oh my gosh, I've been really squeaky and loud. And people were like, we didn't hear it. Don't think you can talk too much about this. And then remember that even if you have an event that doesn't hit correctly, or you have a moment that doesn't align, or your newsletter doesn't go out too much, progress is going to matter. Doing things consistently over time, this is one of those atomic habits moments. Just do something. Keep moving. Keep going, because, again, change over time is really what's going to matter. All right, so hopefully these are some tools that will help you if you are starting out on your alumni journey. Just put it all together and get going and chart your course and let me know how it goes.